a little bit different of a video here tonight. I just want to pay tribute to the legacy of Ronnie James Dio here tonight. And as of right now, it is past midnight here. And it's now the 10th anniversary since we lost the late Ronnie James Dio on May 16th, 2010, and today being May 16th, 2020. And I figured, it was only right to pay tribute, and I wanted to pay tribute anyways, because Ronnie James Dio has had a huge impact on me as a metalhead and just a fan of music. The guy was a phenomenal talent. The guy had an amazing, powerful, angelic voice. Sometimes I think when I listen to some modern metal that kind of power is missing in a lot of it. I mean, I know you can't duplicate what came before you. You can always pay tribute to it, yes. And you can never duplicate it or try to outdo it. Now for me, when I first heard Ronnie James Dio, and I gotta be honest, I was just a young punk kid at the time. I was only, might have been 11 or 12 years old. I had some allowance money, and I was at a local department store back where I used to live called Jamesway. And I found Lock Up the Wolves on cassette tape for $5. And at the time I bought it because I thought the album cover looked cool as hell. I didn't know what Ronnie James Dio was or what Dio was at the time. I thought, oh man, this looks cool. It's called Lock Up the Wolves. It's got a really cool album cover. This has got to be thrash or speed metal. I was wrong, obviously. And being 11 and 12, when I got this cassette tape, I didn't like it right away. And I got rid of the cassette. I think I traded some kid in school for something. I can't remember what now. So yeah, early on, out of ignorance, being an ignorant punk kid, I didn't like Dio right away. Because I was into the fast stuff. I was into the heavy stuff. Which I still am, but, I've grown a lot since I was 12 years old, naturally. So it was years later when I decided, I want to try to get back into Dio. And this is before I really dove into the Dio Black Sabbath stuff. So at the time, Angry Machine had come out, 1996, and I remember buying it on cassette tape too. And like I said, the only album I knew at the time was Lock Up the Wolves. I didn't listen to the older material yet, like Holy Diver, The Last in Line, or, the stuff he did with Rainbow or Elf, or even Black Sabbath up to this point. So I bought Angry Machine on cassette tape, and I remember taking it home and listening to it. Sorry, I'm trying to backtrack here. It's been so long. Actually, no, I had my Walkman with me. And I walked out to our record store called Records Off the Wall that we had back where I used to live. And I bought the cassette tape. And I listened to it in my Walkman on the way home. I'm like, wow, this is kind of good. It's much heavier. Don't tell the kids it's kind of thrashy. You know, this is a pretty angry album. However, at the time, I didn't like the whole thing. I didn't like As Long As It's About Love. At the time. Mind you, I'm 16 at this point. So, yeah. It would be a couple more years down the road till I really got into Dio. And this started in 1999, or no, 2000. I decided, you know what, I'm giving Dio a chance again, because at this point, I had heard the Black Sabbath albums he did, and I loved them. Heaven and Hell, The Mob Rules, Dehumanizer. I thought those albums were phenomenal, so I wanted to check out his solo stuff again. So I bought Magico back when it came out, and I'm like... And at this time, too, I started listening to more European power metal, and getting more into more stuff that has a melodic edge to it, you know, and has, you know, those high operatic vocals. You know, I was getting into bands like Gamma Ray, Primal Fear, Ed Guy, Jag Panther, you know, and a plethora of other European power metal bands at the time. Rhapsody, Steel Prophet. So I grew to have more of an appreciation for Dio. So I went out, and plus, like I said, I love those Sabbath albums. So I went out and bought Magico on cassette tape. Let me backtrack here, on CD, excuse me. I bought Magico on CD, and I'm like, I really like this album. And I thought the story at the end of it was cool too. So after that, we backtracked. I had heard Holy Diver, The Last in Line, Sacred Heart, Dream Evil, and I really liked those albums, you know. And years later, I grew to love Lock Up the Wolf and Angry Machine again, you know. Just phenomenal music. I mean, yes, some albums are stronger than others, but you know what? All in all, I think Dio has a pretty steady catalog, you know? I don't think there's, like, necessarily a really, or a terrible Dio album, you know what I mean? So yeah, man, I became a real big fan of Dio. And Dio started becoming my favorite vocalist. I could not believe the power this guy possessed when he sang. It was unbelievable. Something I didn't get when I was younger, but I got as I grew into my 20s and older, you know. So I backtracked and went back and listened to the Rainbow albums. You know, the couple Elf albums he did. And as of just a couple years ago, I've checked out the Ronnie James and the Prophet. Yes, Ronnie James and the Prophets is, I think that's what the name was. Now, what Ronnie James and the Prophets was his first group that he did starting in 1957. You know, and stylistic wise, it was more, you know, British bubblegum pop type of stuff. You know, of the times, you know, like Buddy Holly, you know, and Chuck Berry and stuff like that, I guess. So yeah, I've been checking that out too. And it's amazing how much different that stuff is compared to what he would do throughout his career, you know, going into Dio. But yeah, man, I mean, So yeah, I mean, I got every album pretty much after Magica came out. Master of the Moon, Killing the Dragon, you know. And there was going to be sequels to Magica, and unfortunately it never got to happen, unfortunately. I remember, too, at the time, I remember reading this in Metal Maniac magazine. Dio already had Magica Part 2 and Magica Part 3 in the works, you know. And it's a shame it never got to happen, you know. And when he got back together with Black Sabbath, I was like, yes, this is cool. And I've confessed it, the Dio era of Black Sabbath is my favorite Black Sabbath. I know it's debatable, a lot of people... I still love the Ozzy era, don't get me wrong. But there's just something about those Dio Black Sabbath albums that I think are just a tad better, and it has to do with Ronnie James Dio's vocals. And you know, the more mystical direction they took on those albums with Sabbath, like Heaven and Hell and The Mob Rules. You know, Dehumanizer was a bit darker. You know, Dehumanizer took on a more serious approach, but you know, and when they came back with The Devil You Know, the Heaven and Hell album, which would be the final album Ronnie James Dio ever did, you know, I thought it was a pretty darn good album, you know. And, you know, the 3 tracks they released on that Black Sabbath Greatest Hits CD they put out before The Devil You Know, the Dio years. Those 3 tracks were pretty darn good too, I thought. I think the one regret I definitely have, I know this is the one regret I definitely have, is I never got to see Dio live. Be it with Heaven and Hell when they reunited, or on his own solo. Now I know a couple of my friends got to see Ronnie James Dio live. And I envy him every damn time for it. But no, honestly, man, it's something I wish I would have got to do, is see Dio live. Just a phenomenal voice. I mean, just a powerful voice. And we can't forget about the track. This is a track I want to talk about real quick. And I just found this track within the last couple years. Kerry Livgren of Kansas. After he split with Kansas, he put out a solo album. It was around 1980. Anyways, Ronnie James Dio had appeared on it on 2 tracks. And the track that really hits, man, is that track... I want to make sure I'm getting the title right here, because I don't own this. Yeah, the track A Man That Would Be King off that Kerry Livgren solo album, man. Such a powerful tune. I recommend anybody who hasn't ever heard that track to check it out. Just amazing, and it definitely could have been a Rainbow song, or a part of any Black Sabbath album he did, I think. But so powerful and so killer. You know, so, you know, on the day that Dio passed away, and this is one of them losses too, you know, when it comes to music, it really hits me. You know, like Lemmy and like Dimebag Darrell, man. I remember the day I heard Dio passed away. a couple of my friends actually texted me. My friend Ozzy, to be exact, from Texas, texted me the day Ronnie James Dio passed away. And another friend of mine who I haven't talked to for years, who her nickname was Firewoman. They both texted me that day. I still remember the voicemail I got from Firewoman, actually, the day Ronnie James Dio passed away, man. And I was in absolute shock. I was in absolute shock. And to this day, man, I still miss him. I still miss him a lot, man. Just a phenomenal talent, you know, that's missed. The power that man had when he sang. Unbelievable. And he was always so good to his fans. He cared about his fans. He cared about performing, you know. That's another thing too. I wish I would have had a chance to meet him, you know. But you know, just in closing, I just wanted to pay tribute to Ronnie James Dio and show my respect. And in closing, I got a little video I put together in Ronnie James Dio's memory. Thank you, Ronnie James Dio, for everything and your influence. And may you rest in peace. And keep heavy metal alive upstairs. Peace.
Man's a choice.